Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another session of NITCOTalks. And we have four fantastic architects who are here with us. And the aim of our talks has consistently been to connect the design community and the developer community. It's more the design community. Even a lot of the architects who we have had on have not known each other, and it's given all of us a great opportunity to have got to know such fantastic architects. Getting on to introductions, Kanai Gandhi graduated from the Academy of Architecture, Mumbai in 1995. And soon after, he set up KNS Architects along with Nimish Shah and Shresth Kashyap. His portfolio ranges across master plan, commercial and residential architecture, hospitality, villas, luxury home interiors, etc. Kanai believes change is the only constant in life, and hence he does not adhere to any distinct style of design. He firmly believes in versatility and that each project should have its own unique approach.
Thanks, Vivek.
Piyush Mehra, a gold medalist from the Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi, Piyush kick-started his career in Paris with famous French architect Dominique Perrault before joining PS Design in 2012. His thesis on the Navi Mumbai International Airport was selected for the world's best thesis competition in Moscow in 2013. Piyush began his architecture training as a disciple of his father, who taught him the basics of construction even as a child. Today, he spearheads the architecture studio at PS Design. Welcome, Piyush.
Hi, thank you.
Dynamic and meticulous Prashant Chauhan is an architect by qualification. However, he scales beyond the boundaries of architecture to explore other design disciplines. His belief, design is boundless, forms the very core of his practice 09, which effortlessly deals with projects in architecture, advertising, interior, and exhibition design. A strong believer in karma, Prashant enjoys sharing his thoughts with aspiring architects at Rizvi College of Architecture, where he began his quest for lifelong learning. An explorer by nature, Prashant also has a passion for travel, photography, and technology. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, sir.
Last but definitely not the least, our next panelist is a doting father to a daughter, a trained husband, a quality of extreme value in lockdown, a dreamer, a hoot in known company, travel buff, thrill seeker, an avid reader with the sporadic blogger syndrome, with serious affliction in OCD and a grammar Nazi with split personality issues, something that his office can vouch for. Has been accused several times for his gift of the gab. He loves good wine, food, music, and friends to lean on. He can be seen in all sizes, if not shapes, through the year because of his gifted Gujju DNA disposition of adipose. His name has been spelled and pronounced in more permutations than any Einstein equation, but he has been accepting it with grace, just like the meaning of his name. Welcoming Shobhan Kothari.
Hey, I want to change my introduction.
Whom did you hire for this intro?
I'm sending you a very quick writer, Monica. So please.
Well, I told you guys. I don't know why you guys just come to this forum serious. It's from the start. It's fun. If it's not,
I think somebody has discovered a new passion for stand-up comics, and that's the.
No. There is a long line out there, and DK is heading that entire forum, right? and DK is on the forefront there, so I can't kind of take her position. And there's so many. Yeah, Piyush is also there. Yeah, A line mein.
No, Piyush is in the.
Hardly, yaar. Hum to piche chale gaye.
Piyush is heading the chef.
Okay, first question for Shobhan. Who was your inspiration?
I do. So guys, I'm going to take the screen off you and I'm going to share a content. So please do allow me. It's something that I'm going to kind of enjoy and explaining visually, which has better sense for me and hopefully for you all as well. So before I start kind of explaining, can everyone see the screen?
Yeah, you can see it.
I just want to make sure that everyone understands this disclaimer very clearly, right? There's absolutely been no attempt at my part to be politically correct. And going forward, I don't think I want to. The presentation is surely for entertainment purpose only, provided it hurts you. Otherwise, it's very dead serious. And if you can't dig that, I think a coffee break would be perfect at this point in time. To my knowledge, no animals were hurt, but I can promise you many, many egos were bruised in this. There's 99% distorted facts and 1% regrets, which I am still sobbing over. And more importantly, and this is for everyone to remember, that all characters are fictional. So unless you meet them in public, please be gentle with them and don't hurt their egos. Now, to answer your question, Vivek sir, you know, there wasn't so much of inspiration, but a lot of perspiration behind this story of, you know, who could have possibly inspired me. And I want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. I need everybody to rewind a little bit, and I want to give you a little background about myself. My granddad was a Supreme Court lawyer of a great acclaim from Bhai Shankar Kanga firm. And he cast a very large shadow on our family. So, you know, when the choice came for him to give his daughter in marriage to my dad had to step it up. And my dad is an ENT surgeon of great repute for the last 45, 50 years. And, you know, he's written countless books, 25 numbers to be precise. And I've got sweat beads here. Then, of course, there's about 2,000 articles that he's written. And his accolades keep, you know, adding on. And if that wasn't enough, my mom decided that she needed to kind of match up or make sure that dad was on his toes. And my mom is a double PhD. So the only game that I played as a child was making sure that I stepped away from all their shadows constantly, right? And I tiptoed around them, and I thought I did a fabulous job. And I think I was doing a fabulous job until the 9th grade. Until that time when all of a sudden, like Broadway, I could hear soundtrack at the back of my ears. And that soundtrack was Papa Kehte Hain, Bada Naam Karega. And it pissed the hell out of me. Because I was like wondering, what is this? Because dad and mom never actually put pressure on me. But as I approached 10th grade, I eavesdropped on their conversation. And they were harboring ambitions. And you have to understand, I come from a Gujarati background where the mother calls the son Maro Dikro. And it never goes. It's like this umbilical cord never ever gets cut. So, you know, my mom secretly harbored that my son, who according to her is good looking, can start to be the next Harvey Specter. I obviously, for one, was laughing my guts out. And then there was dad, who felt that his gene pool and his DNA could not have failed. And he housed a Doogie Howser dream in me. And I, for one, thought that he was smoking the best kind of weed in those days. Now, obviously, all this compounded to the fact that we needed to come to a decision. So it was summer of 91. I get into a car with dad and we head to the clinic. I saw people's eyes between masks, pretty much like COVID nowadays, judging me. And it wasn't fun. But there were some things that got decided in the summer of 91. Two things, actually. One, I'm a huge fan of physics now, and especially that of the Newton theory, that when the blood, something that goes up must come down. I'm just tweaking it a little bit, that when the blood hits the ceiling, Shobhan Kothari had to go down. And I fainted, right? And this is the time when I woke up with a lot of chloroform later on, only to realize that egos are much greater than any hurt that you can get externally. Because the bruise that I had on my head was nothing compared to the bruised ego of my father. Well, this didn't stop my mother from trying. And she insisted that I should try my luck at law. But trust me, my precautious nature of managing conflict was set in the paper, rock, scissors, spock method. And that was actually stolen by Sheldon Cooper. So obviously these two professions were out of the way. And now what do? All along, they did realize that I was brilliant at taking criticism. Brilliant. I was the best at taking criticism. And even now, my wife can vouch for it. And that's when we decided that, I was made to become an architect. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we love criticism.
So now we expect everyone to take out their presentation, isn't
I
it?
know, exactly. Shobhan, since the day one of lockdown, you've been preparing for this, right?
Hey, I have no work. What did I tell you? I'm actually sending in my resume to PUs. I'm sending in my resume to all of you all. Vivek has already kept a separate cabin. He's looking for a sales and marketing guy already. I'm absolutely a one who's free. So there's me. I'm kind of doing, and Anika, I've been kind of, on the side telling her that, London Business School and everything, I can definitely be of help. And she's kind of realizing that. So yes, this has been going on forever.
So looking
And
at
actually, this Microsoft subscription went off because of non-payment, since I don't have any money. Otherwise, I would have given a fantastic PowerPoint.
I'm actually stealing it from someone else as well.
After the lockdown, otherwise even I would have given up.
I'm already sweating. Shobhan, I'm already sweating.
So guys,
You're brilliant.
let's go around on inspiration besides perspiration.
Kana, you want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, please.
See, basically, I can say maybe similar like Shobhan, from a Gujarati family. When I was born, if I go back like a flashback, now way back to 1972 when I was born, Gujarati family full of traders, businessmen, and full of chartered accountants. So there was not a single sign of being creative out here. But there was a slight difference. I think when I joined school and even now, I'm a very quiet type of guy, and I had this knack of telling stories with pictures. So that was something which was like a childhood habit. And as time went by, I used to keep drawing more and more and used to explain a lot of stuff through sketches. And at the same time, I used to do something which no one ever did. Everyone used to hate studying. They used to like going out, playing in the ground and all that stuff. I used to love to study. I used to sit at home. I used to study. And I used to study all the time. And I used to love studying my, geography, social sciences, your history. And in this entire process, I just realized that, what are structures? I get fascinated by all these 7 wonders of the world and, how they were built, when they were built. And again, as I said, how they were built. That was something which went, how was the pyramid built? Like 4,000 years back, that intrigued me so much. Like figuring out that, there's something more to this. But then also that architecture never came into my head that way. And there was one sad part of thing which I realized that when I was actually reanalyzing stuff, that everyone remembers the structure, but no one remembers the architect actually. So I don't know how many architect people that we know that were actually were behind this entire thing of making these structures. But again, as I said, this struggle went on, and eventually I took science because I think that was something which was again into me, and I couldn't do physics. I was not very good at physics, and I was sure that engineering is not the scope, not a cup of tea for me. Similarly to medicine also. So the only thing left in way back in 1990 was then architecture. I joined architecture school, but even for the first 3-4 years, actually from the 10th grade till the third year of architecture, I used to keep interning with my dad. Because my dad had his own business. So I thought, in case I want to switch my career, even after 2nd or 3rd year, maybe I should really get the business acumen of figuring out how to run a business. Eventually, that did help me to run my own practice. when I actually had passed my architecture. And only when I joined architecture school, then I actually realized that, there are these legends of architects. There are all these famous designers, architects, and who then started inspiring me, when I was in like 91, 92 in the second or third of architecture. You had Frank Lloyd Wright, and you had Antonio Gaudi, then you have Franco Gehry, and all those big legends who actually influence you in such a good fashion. And so then I obviously didn't have the money to travel around the world to actually see all those projects. But over the last 20 years, actually, I've made an effort of actually, whenever I'm traveling, I make a point to see at least one of the legendary architects. If their work can be, I can visit that, study it. So then it becomes a source of inspiration. So there was no architect to inspire me before I joined architecture, but then a lot of architects do inspire me now to actually figure out how and why they're doing these lovely designs and structures.
That's fabulous. Prashant,
I think I'll take the battalion of the Gujju.
Yeah, I think we are going as per seniority, So it starts with Vivek,
I'll take
then
battalion ahead.
then Prashant. Then you might want to fit in five, 7 more architects, and then I will come.
Okay, Piyush, you want to go ahead, or should I carry the Gujju battalion ahead?
Carry the Gujju battalion ahead.
Okay. So I come from a Gujarati family, but I am not so Gujju because I really don't speak much Gujju even with my parents. So we normally communicate in Hindi or English. And my father has been into oil, as in he's an employee at ONGC, and my mother had been at a bank. So no inspiration as such, frankly. It was just one fine day that when 12th exams were done and I was asked to fill up an engineering form. That is when it struck me that, oh, engineering, padhai karni padegi. What was the second option? Medical. Oh, medical, padhai karni padegi. So those two were my only inspirations. ये दोनों में पढ़ाई करनी पड़ेगी बहुत ज़्यादा. So अब क्या alternative है? So now let's take architecture. Because that was another 5 years. It was supposedly a more serious profession. And till that time, frankly, I had absolutely no clue. In fact, till second year or third year of architecture, or probably even till date, I don't have any clue about what design is. But learning every day. So trying to explore, trying to learn every day. So I think my inspiration has been very clearly to avoid books. That's it.
Okay, I'll change the question.
Similar. We're so similar. We're so similar.
I've become like that. Now, after being an architect, I've stopped actually looking at books. Even I started looking at how to have fun actually.
Yeah, after joining architecture, Prashant must have realized I was so wrong. Padhai nahi karni padegi. I was so wrong. Engineering would have been so much better.
I'll change the question for Piyush. Piyush, you have to tell us about your college days and where you met Priyanka, and will you get Priyanka in the picture because she doesn't want to be out of it, it's quite clear. Priyanka, will you please come in front of the camera?
Priyanka, you are required. He's saying no, she is not dressed for the occasion, so no.
It's only only the face that we see.
You have no idea, okay? You have no idea. So should I start with the inspiration, which is like really inspiring?
Yeah, start with your PowerPoint, please.
Like I said, the subscription got over. So as a child, like since I was a child, I was born and brought up in Lucknow, which is the greatest city in the world, especially with respect to food. And so architecture was the only profession which I had ever known, because my father used to work as an architectural craftsman in one of the government companies, and used to have his own projects as well. So I used to see him earlier days, the drafting. So there used to be big boards, a lot of drawings, a lot of rotring pens, pencils, etc. So I was kind of growing amongst all those things. So architecture was probably the only thing one could do for me as a child. And later on, once my dad got me a book which had a few projects from Charles Correa. and I started going through them, and so that was the time it really inspired me. Okay, this is how space planning could be, and so that was my inspiration, my father and architect Charles Korea, of course.
Will you take your college days as well and tell us how and where you met Priyanka?
Okay, so everyone really wants to know about Priyanka. So, so as you all must be aware that I'm quite young. He's laughing here. Okay. So
Give us the figures.
in 2000 in 2011 I decided that 2011 I was in the 4th year of my architecture, and I decided, okay, let's do an internship in Mumbai, because 2010 I had done it in Delhi with Romi Khosla. So 2011 I thought, okay, let's do it in Mumbai, and so I started searching for a lot of architects across. So then I came across this lady, Priyanka, and of course I was like, oh, this is one hot architect, and I should definitely apply for internship in this office. Also because of other reasons, because her practice was good, and it was a smaller size practice, so I thought, okay, I'll get more exposure in other things as well. And so so quite strategically I applied, and of course I got through, and that's when I met her, and we didn't fall in love then. I finished my internship. So that time in 2011, Priyanka was doing more of interior projects in the company, and I was more inclined towards architecture. So when I was there for the internship, it was a short internship for 6 weeks. So we kind of pitched for more than 3-4 projects, and we got them all. So I then kind of connected with her and with the company. And even when I went back to college, I was still working with the projects and everything. So yeah, that's how we started out in 2011, and rest is history.
Shobhan,
The hair started falling also after 2011. I don't know if it's related.
Shobhan, you're on mute, but there is Shobhan, you're on mute.
I wanted to know what swung it his way, for Priyanka. I mean, what did he do? But he then kind of wound it up with something of a statement, that is, he lost his head after he met her. So now he's kind of hitting himself in the face even before he's allowing others to do so. So now that's pretty much he's kind of killed it for himself. I have nothing to say.
You guys may soon see a punch coming from here.
It's not as effective from the side. It needs to be head on. My advice to Priyanka. Yeah.
Piyush, Priyanka is asking us to ask you why you really joined.
For the love of architecture, for the love of design. So of course, as an architect, you like aesthetic things, right? And also the aesthetics of the employee you're going to work with. So,
Shobhan, for you, how did you meet Priyanka?
I'm keen to meet her. She seems to be doing a fine job in keeping Piyush under control. I mean, it's a pleasure to meet ladies like that.
Okay, tell us about your college.
Am I scoring, Priyanka? You can just put up on the chat that you definitely want to meet up with me. Am I scoring?
So will you tell us about your college days?
I'm going to make everyone suffer through presentations today. So once again, I'm going through a presentation. So as everyone knows, I've been doing this from the first day of lockdown, because that's all I have been doing. So here we go. And it's very important that everyone understands. I came from Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute of Architecture. And it was an institute which had its birth in 1990. 1992, if I'm not incorrect. It's called the Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute for Architecture, but I coined its acronym quite differently. As you can see, I call it the completely registered for Viva and Inquisition to make you an architect, which basically loosely written down means it's licensed to make you politically incorrect and disregard others' opinions and belief that your idea is supreme. And it makes you as a draftsman. And that's typically how I looked at Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi architecture. But, on a more serious note, it was 1993. There was just a few handful of colleges in Bombay in those days. There was CEPT, obviously, who had attained the position of being in this rarefied atmosphere that they always consider themselves. There were a few other pollutant schools in JJ, LS Raheja, and Academy that existed on the peripherals. And I remember going up after a common entrance exam to a desk where I had two professors waiting for me. And this was this college with a blank card saying KRVI. So this was this new asteroid that was wanting to kind of emerge in this existing pool of design schools that existed. It was a fun time, to be honest with you. College was absolutely fun. We had the first batch of just 40 slaughtered pigs who were already inculcated into the college. We were the second batch of 40 guinea pigs that were going to be introduced into it. So you can imagine that, in a college that today where every batch is of 80, and they have as many as about, I think, 400, 500 students or campus. Ours was a fairly large. So we had this whole campus and we were just a handful of people. We got to know each other fairly well, both one level up as well as one level down when the third year batch joined. But I think on a serious note, there's one man that I really love to give credit to, and he deserves it all, and that's Sen Kapadia. He epitomized the ethos of what Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute for Architecture stands for. He is a visionary. And anybody who's interacted and spends 10 minutes with this man, I can tell you, my gift of gab is nothing. It is shallow compared to this man, and his plethora of knowledge is vast. What was equally exciting about the fact was the number of people whom we could attract as faculty. And we had some of the greatest stalwarts in the industry: Hema Sankalia, Vandana Singh from Vandana and Ranjit Singh, Shraddha Sejpal. There were so many, and these were all powerful ladies teaching. I've kept them specifically because the ladies really did shape our college, and they did a fabulous job. They had distinctive personalities, and nobody else could have kind of, got the coherent family together than Sen. Early days were fun. I think the first 3 years of architecture, I think I didn't do nothing. I just had fun. I think I laughed around, I played around, I enjoyed, I danced. I had no clue what I was doing. I waited to rag people, sorry. I got ragged by the first batch. It was my job to rag third and the fourth batch. Dare you say that I don't look good in my long locks? I thought I really fancied them in those days. As I said, I danced a lot. I enjoyed and I had fun. Those were the days where I think I laughed and smiled a lot, and it was great fun until, once you start graduating and realize and what's dawning outside the outside world, you become a little serious demeanor. And that's what I became eventually, as a personality.
That's great. Sounds like fun.
I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed college. I think one of the things that I left out here was the fact that, in fourth year, we get selected to go for a student exchange program, and I got selected to go to McGill. I promise you, until that point in time, I had no clue what architecture was all about, no clue what designing was all about. I think it was just about getting grades and marks and moving from one jury to another. It was just fun. I think coming back, I think the last 2 years of my college life, I think I became a little bit serious, and I enjoyed it, to be honest. That's where I had my real learnings. So yeah, I had a great time, and I think we had a super faculty, to be honest with you.
Kanai, you'll go next. You'll have to unmute here.
Yeah, I think I'll take off from what I was saying earlier. Like, I actually came into architecture school, from like, how exactly I was. I was very quiet, quite serious, and there's something which people make fun of me even till now for after 30 years also, and particularly Shresh, is on the first day of school, they had given us a list of like 100 things which we had to get. Like, from your T-squares, set squares, pencils, pen, papers, and everyone was like, Shresh came in with, I think, a paper and a pen. I was one of the guys who were dressed with formal clothes, formal trousers, formal shirts, and I took everything possible with me which they was there on the list on the first day of college. So that was me then. And as architecture school, you suddenly tend to meet so many different people, and obviously the first year was pretty like where I was trying to set in and try to figure out, because I was from South Bombay, from a very uptight school called Green Lawns on Beach Candy, and the whole atmosphere was very different. Architecture school, suddenly I realized, and there was a mix of people coming from different societies, different culture, and the entire thing was, it took a while for me to absorb and to actually realize how things were. And as we moved on, actually there was another interesting thing which happened. It was the second year when we all were going for one of our study tours to Ahmedabad, and I had with my batchmates, like we had Shresh, obviously my business partner now and a very good friend. We had one Mr. Pankaj Joshi and Pronit. So we were all in the train, and they were car, and suddenly everyone was like, they looked at me and they were like, they had the look, oh, I'm sure this guy will not be knowing how to play this game. And that's why I told them that I would really like to play the game too, because I've actually been playing that since I was like in the 6th or 7th grade, and they didn't expect that out of me. And it was a game of where you have to really bluff, and I actually landed up winning everything possible on that particular train trip. And that's where actually there was a nice bond which happened between me and my other friends, who actually they start learning more, absorbing more. And I think I actually would like to give a lot of credit to the years in architecture school, because apart from studying, everyone does study and you do listen to your lectures, and fortunately I was a very good student. I was performing very well but apart from that, there were a lot of other creative expressions which were encouraged. Like to name one, unfortunately during our time, in 90 to 93, we had the Bombay riots, and it was really bad. But at the same time, the college was shut for a couple of months, but they gave us a lot of encouragement, like where I actually landed up taking up this. We learned how to do art with coal tar, and this was something which was done with with that time with Nimish, my other business partner, who actually two of us actually, and there were some other friends, where we did this entire artwork with a collection of with coal tar, which is normally, if you call it the dumper on the road. And we had this entire exhibition in those days, 93, in Society Interiors, which was one of the biggest show of that time. So those were the days which we really helped, for us to grow actually, because then you keep absorbing so much as you keep growing in that process. So college days actually are good memories of getting these nice learning processes, and you're actually in such a nice frame of mind to keep absorbing all the time. So I think I remember my college days with that, with your bonding with friends, and bonding with people around, absorbing so much of your culture, expressing yourself in different mediums, apart from obviously what you're always studying, like architecture, and architecture is always there, but there are so many other things which come along your way.
Great. Sean.
I guess it's my turn now. I'll continue from where Shobhan showed that asteroid hitting the other pollutants. So you missed out showing Rizvi College of Architecture there.
You didn't consider that actually.
You missed out Rizvi College of Architecture, which was another asteroid.
Or on mute, Shobhan.
Damn it, I knew I was missing out on something.
Okay, so I won't claim that I was.
Honestly, but Prashant, honestly, in those days there was just that many, right?
Yeah. I know.
20 years back, there was just that many.
I know. So my
You guys keep talking about 1994, 1992, and I'm like, oh God.
Sending you diapers. Besides toilet paper, I'm sending you diapers to use. In case if you run out.
Can someone talk about the 21st century now?
Okay, so there was another meteor in that diagram which was missing, which hit the other pollutants, and that was Rizvi College of Architecture. And I joined that meteor after it finished a course of 5 years. So I was in the 5th batch of Rizvi College of Architecture, 97 batch. So 92. So basically we had an advantage of knowing 5 batches previous to us and 5 batches after us. So we know kind of 10 batches around. And also the year we joined in, our college was hosting NASA, the annual convention, and that kind of changed the course of my academic perspective, because since then I was never a student of the class. I was always a student outside the class. So I was always in the NASA. I was always in Louis Kahn trophy, or this trophy, or that trophy, or this exhibition, or that exhibition, or that competition, or that. So basically, I never used to be in class. I used to be in class for academic presentations. That is done. Once that is done, I used to never be in class. So a lot of my faculty have always asked me that, are you in the same class? Are you in the same batch? You know, so yes, I used to show them actually that my number is on the roll call. So that was my identity at college. And of course, I picked up a lot of friends outside my college. I have a lot of friends who are my seniors. So the way Shobhan said that, you know, it was our responsibility and duty to kind of to get ragged from the seniors and rag in kind of an inheritance kind of a thing. So yes, I have done that also. And I have had fantastic juniors who are my close friends now. I have fantastic friends from other colleges from across the country. And I think that would answer Piyush's query that, you know, Prashant knows everybody. So Prashant knows everybody only because Prashant was never in class. I have to credit my shaping of my entire career to Akhtar Chauhan and Pradnya Chauhan. They have been really instrumental in, I think, instilling confidence into me, because I used to do work and these guys used to appreciate what I did. I really could not understand that what is it that was appreciated. So it was never that I could understand my own designs. I would just do it, and they used to just, you know, appreciate it. So I really used to find it very amusing that what was it so appreciative about this nonsense that I have done in about a couple of hours, and they're just appreciating it. So is it the bias because I am also a Chauhan? So I used to always think that, and then eventually I realized that there are some logics and some basics to it which I am probably doing right. And apart from these two guys, I think I should also credit my career and my entire life journey to Behzad Kharas, who has been not just my friend, but also a close brother to me. Because we have been always together in all possible sorts of events, all possible sorts of NASA competitions. We've done multiple crazy amount of competitions in extracurriculars. We've literally,
This guy.
I have literally slept at his home more than my own home. So obviously, yes, Shobhan, sorry, you were saying?
Such a gracious guy, Behzad.
Yeah, absolutely. So till date, I mean, we work together on a couple of things. So he kind of passes on. So I again had a very keen interest in graphic design somehow, because one fine day I had seen some seniors working in the computer lab on CorelDRAW and Photoshop, and that really attracted me. So they were making some event poster, and that really got me fascinated. So today I am a self-taught graphic designer, also self-taught, I would say, just because it just instilled a pure passion into me. So I took up that as well. And I think what 09 is today is all because of everybody who shaped me as a person. And that's why interiors or advertising or exhibitions or architecture, all of this comes very naturally to us. So I think all of it eventually falls into place just because of that alma mater called because of architecture, the Meteor Part 2.
Okay, so moving on to a slightly more serious question. Kanai, this question is for you. Does college equip you for the real world? What are some of your suggestions to make the system more practical?
Yeah, I said something about the similar thing to even the Council of Architecture. I think there are between there are two worlds. One is the college world, and one is your world at in the practice level, where you're practicing as an architect and you have your own firm. Now, what I think the biggest lack is the communication between the two worlds. Now, if you don't, the idea is to strengthen this communication between theory and being at practical. So there were a few suggestions which were there, like because people keep blaming, like that the interns and the freshers are coming out of architecture school are not very good at their work, or they don't know what they're doing and things like those. But I think it should fall back onto the principal architects of every design firm like ours, like where we as principal architects should take out some more time, and we should go back to maybe giving lectures on the particular field or thing that we expertise in. Suppose if we excel in something like, say, residential interior or architecture, then we should be taking effort of giving lecture, and everyone has an excuse of like, there's no time, and it's difficult to travel now because of technology. That can really be negated in totality. We can actually even teach online, and take that kind of time out where the students of architecture get that bit of understanding of how things are done, why are they done, what are the principles. So it has simply called mentoring. If mentoring can be done online, that would really help the students of architecture. And vice versa, I think when a student actually passes or is interning in an architect's office, I think the main principals should be also be held responsible for grading or marking that particular student. Like, he suppose comes, they normally take internship very casually, and they're not it's not taken in that serious fashion. So I think when you put a grade system to it, where you have to work minimum for 6 months or more, the principal architect of the firm is responsible for grading a particular student. That really helps, because in a way, then, because we are responsible for seeing that a person who's coming out of college is going to eventually be an architect, and he's being an architect who will be practicing in the real world. So if we should also be held responsible for judging that, or figuring out whether they've done it rightly, they've not done it rightly. Even after they pass their architecture, there should be a minimum sort of a time-bound thing where he or she should practice under a firm for a minimum number of 3 to 5 years. Ensure that he's completed X number of projects, to ensure that he is in a capacity to do a job on his own. No one is taking away from the fact that he or she would be a good architect or a good designer. But the point is, there are a lot of other stuff apart from just design which are required in the field. Like, there is execution, the way you handle the clients, the way you handle the contractors. So that is something there. That's why I'm coming back to the thing of a very strong communication between the two worlds, which currently is in a way not happening in the correct fashion. So that is something which we would recommend, that that it can be taken up very strongly, and it should be brought about to people to for us to churn out a new generation of good architects. Otherwise, we'll always keep complaining. It's like the Indian government. It's like India. Like, you keep complaining about the government not doing the right stuff, and the citizens keep complaining the government is not right, and we have a wrong policy. The point is, it is always a very interactive thing which needs to happen, and the communication needs to be right between the two bodies. If that does not happen, it won't happen correctly. So again, I said, collaborating and communicating correctly is the need of the hour.
Okay, so jumping ranks here from the senior to the most junior one. I have a different opinion on this entire subject. Is that I feel in colleges, in architecture colleges, it's about the indulgences. The professors, the design teachers, they have different opinions. They have different ideas about the world. They don't think very commercially, which we all think now, and which is why we expect a certain different kind of a demeanor from any fresh architect. Okay, why don't you know this? Why don't you know that? And why is it everything so true, authentic and not really commercialized? So I think it's about the indulgences, and like Kanaik correctly said, that it's our duty as principal architects, as people who call young architects for internship, to kind of teach them in whatever time we get, maybe a 4-month internship or even a shorter internship, as to stuff about the real world practice, stuff about cost. For example, when I first started working on a site, the major issue which I faced was the cost. So I had no clue what a BOQ is, how to make a BOQ, and how to present an estimate to a client. And once you start your own practice, you realize even more than finalizing a layout, that is something which a client really looks forward to before starting up any big project. So this is something which I had to learn in the profession when I immediately started, because this was not taught in the college, in the colleges, in the schools. And that is probably because the professors, the teachers, they don't really practice. They they finish their masters, they do PhD, and then they immediately start teaching. So it's about indulgences. They are more indulgent about just teaching or giving theoretical knowledge to the students. So yeah, like Kanai says, it's our duty to impart that commercial angle, the real world knowledge to the students. So I don't really blame the students for that, but yeah, so that's my feeling about this.
Prashant.
Do you want to go ahead, Prashant?
I think Shobhan had some view on this.
No, I do have a viewpoint, but obviously I want to kind of make it on a lighter note as well as, I'll share a presentation. But there are two aspects to the presentation that I want to make before I dive into one. The idea is that, A, we are discussing the void in the system. B, I think we need to also discuss as, practicing architects of last 20, sorry, Piyush, I don't know how many years, but for the last 20 odd years, I think where is the gap? And, how do we fill that gap? Right. So I think for me, I'm going to kind of address these 2 points. Just indulge me one more time, guys. There's going to be a little bit on a lighter note, but on then getting down to a more serious note on the presentation as well. As every architect that kind of graduates at the end of his career or end of his college years or 5 years, I think he's thrown into the pangs of the real world. And I don't know of a single individual who's not scared. Why does this happen, And I think it happens because of the fact that, what the college trains us is training us for all the isms, the minimalism, the deconstructivism. To some extent, I will also say altruism, which is sad. We know all the famous architects, we know all their famous buildings, we know all the fancy jargon to impress the jury, only that we're not told that there is no jury out there waiting for us. You live your life in 5 years in colors of just black and white, not knowing the other colors. I wish I had any leaf of Shantanu's vibrancy and color and knowledge. And today, I think I would be of a different perspective. I would be adding a different perspective to my practice. But the thing is, you're taught in 2 shades of black and white. And finally, you have to be given a moral compass by saying that, your Bible is Annie Rand's fountainhead. You're going to embrace this lifelong. Now, the problem is that all this is great. It creates what I would like to say a culture for college. But honestly, you meet the first client that asks you for Vastu and you are shitting bricks. You meet your first client that asks you that you need to change this and you need to change that. And you start to question the fact that, are you even a freaking architect? Because all that he's constantly asking you to do is tweak and tweak and tweak the design, that you finally become a draftsman and you're only drawing stuff. Why does this happen? Because eventually, Stephen, there's this famous saying by Stephen Covey that habit is an intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. What the college is definitely giving us is knowledge, enough knowledge in 5 years. Of course, you're a student for life and you have to keep learning. So of course, what to do with that knowledge, you will figure it out. The desire, the passion. We all are very passionate individuals, and that's the only reason why we're surviving in this practice or the profession as architects. And we're given that even in 5 years. It's kind of embedded in your DNA. But let's look at the skill sets. Skills of how to do it. There's a 50-50 toss-up. You know, they're training you 50% and they're not training you the other 50%. And why do I say that? Because what is skills at the end of the day? It's hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills is everything that the college teaches us. Design, software, building codes, industry awareness, data analysis, qualifications, degrees, foreign languages. Now let's look at the soft skills. Communication, poor. Leadership, poor. How do you adapt and move and be flexible? No clue. Problem solving, no idea. Decision making, no idea. Can you work as a team? No idea. Time management, it's a disaster asking them to do. Willingness to learn, oh my God, they think they know it all. And let's not forget finance. Some of us, even at this age, are struggling. So the problem is that the college fails to understand that the soft skills are the hardest skills, and they need to kind of inculcate that at some level in us.
Very true. I really agree to what Shobhan said. And I think the soft skill part was actually taken care of in my case by all these extracurricular activities at NASA, trust me, because all of these juggling and, you know, managing money, managing teams, managing, timelines, all of this was, I think, really held together with all these extracurricular activities. So I think that really is something which brings a lot of, that content into you. Answering to the actual question, yes, I do feel a divide. In fact, I feel that there are two kinds of architects, one who teach and one who practice. So that divide is very strong, and I think I have been trying my best to blur it out by teaching at Risby College of Architecture for last, I think, just last 2 years I have not been going there, but I think otherwise I was quite regular at Risby College of Architecture, trying to connect with students, trying to reach to them, but eventually, you know, what I see is there is a lack of motivation that I see in the batch these days, purely because of, I would say, lack of hunger. There is no, everything is very easily available on the platter, on Google, on Wikipedia, on Pinterest, that there is no hunger which just, you know, lets them dive into a subject or, you know, get into the depth of anything. That is where I got a little disheartened and I kind of stopped going for the last 2 years. I'm sure I hope I will again start doing that in my practice again. But I feel precisely lack of hunger is where students these days are finding it very challenging, and we are finding it very challenging to connect with them on that level where you have that passion, where you know that, you know, this person has that similar kind of passion and hunger and wants to achieve something in life. You really immediately connect with that particular person in terms of like how, for example, I'm sure Priyanka also saw that same thing in Piyush, you know. So obviously there is some amount of passion that is always displayed, and that goes a long way. That really goes a long way, because it eventually puts you on the forefront every time. Not just one time, not just twice, every time you want to just be at the forefront. Like we have had some kids with us who've actually interned with us and then graduated to literally become a design associate, you know. So 4 years, 5 years of your training that you give to a company is something that you really invest in yourself, not the company. You're investing in yourself. And now today we know that definitely this person can take it further from that level. And I think that is what is missing. So rightly when Kanai said that, you know, you invest 3 to 4 years in a career, that is also something which is lacking right now.
That's great.
Prashant, you know, I mean, moving forward, I will definitely elaborate, but in my case, I've not had the good fortune. I've really not had the good fortune of working for 3 to 4 years in anyone's practice. and I will share moving forward, and I definitely see the point that you're making and how that's been a bit of a sour point at my end. I agree with you.
That's a sour point at my end as well, Shobhan. When we come to that next part, I will share that as well, my journey.
Question for Prashant again.
Yes, please.
Tell us about your first client, your first project, and did you goof it up?
Okay, so in the case of 09, the first client, it's like a movie, I mean, you see the first love at first sight never happens. You keep meeting that person again and again and again and again in different phases of time. That is what has happened with 09. So I would say my first client was probably during college days when I used to be interested in graphic design, and one of the professors asked me to design his card. So that probably was my first client. I did a good job, but I never got paid for it. So good lesson number one, that never start without taking an advance. Very good lesson.
Story of our lives.
Yeah, I know. So then came a second phase where I graduated and I was already working at Hafiz Contractor. And obviously the internship amount was negligible almost. It did not even cover my travel expenses. So obviously to fill up your pockets, I had to do a lot of freelance job. So I used to work with other architects, work with other companies like Philips and all, and used to design lighting for them, for their facades and stuff. So that is where I did a second phase. I mean, we used to do lighting design for brands. That was second client. That is where I learned how to manage funds. Then there came another phase where I ventured out while I was working with an art director, Gina Shetty. She was also from our college. And while I was doing that, I had like at least 20 days in a month, which was free, because the shoots used to happen only for 10 days or maximum, I mean, at the max 12 days in a month. So rest of the days, what do you do? I mean, I can't just sit at home and make my parents feel uncomfortable ki ladka to architect ban gaya, but kuch kar nahi raha hai. So that's the reason I used to head out and try and find another job or another kind of perspective. So that's where my current wife and my then girlfriend, Anu, she brought in her professor's coaching classes, which was to be designed. So we said, oh, fantastic, good. So we thought that was the first project. Happened, all said, all good, all done. I mean, we did a lot of fantastic detailing and all of that. But then somehow 09 never took off because I was not focused. So I never sat at one place. I never, kind of got gripped onto that one platform. I was still doing teaching. I was kind of consulting. I was doing a lot of things at multiple places. And then finally, after a brief episode of Dubai chapter, about a year or so, where I was consulting to somebody, when we returned to Bombay in 2010, that is when the real world started and real consolidation of 09 happened. And that is when we actually took our first project of 09, and which was a luxury interiors, the works with home automation, with everything. So basically all sorts of stuff, but still that was somehow to me, not my first project. I would say my first project was a weekend home, which we did right from scratch. So we built everything right from, locating the trees, locating what the tree position was, how to plan it around that, around the trees, how to have the entire bungalow home designed with the context of the trees. So I credit, and somehow till date, I think I feel every project is the first project for me, because that gives me that energy and that zeal and that enthusiasm and that kind of energy to just completely boost in everything and all sorts of concentration coming into that one project. That is what I still feel, that everything is still, I mean, till date I am in that phase where I feel, oh, this is a dream project. This is the first project for us. This is the pivotal project. So I still have that feeling. I have not got over that first project feeling till date.
But you're still young, but I still have that feeling. Even at my age, for me, every job, everything I'm doing is excitement, because enjoy our work. So it just shows how much you enjoy your work.
Exactly.
Who'll go next?
Okay, so Priyanka is actually writing the amount as well on chat. Priyanka, let's not do that. Priyanka is writing amounts, and that is very embarrassing.
I think she's missing a couple of zeros.
Yeah.
I heard Hafizites used to rake millions. So I don't know.
I'll add to what Craig said, like, and even what Prashant said, like, you know, like every project is a first project. Like, for example, if it's depending on the type of vertical that you're doing, it's a corporate office or it's a residence, it's a building, or if you now we ventured into hospitality and institutional projects also. But to name my first project was something when I was in the third year of architecture and I got a job to do, and it was a friend's house in the area of Gamdevi, if people know about South Bombay. So it's a nice, very quaint locality, and it was a 3-bedroom house which we had to do, and they had a budget constraint, and so I had to work out something where, you know, I had the design sensibilities, but regarding costing and things like those, there was almost like no idea at all. But then also we went about doing it, and the particular why I'm mentioning it, that's the first time actually. I don't know whether Vivek would remember. I'd gone to the NITCO office then at Urban Point in 93, 94. And that was the first project where we had used the very famous white mosaic tiles, where, you know, you had, it was like 1 foot by 1 foot with the marble chips. And the entire house we laid, like we bought some 1,000 square feet, and, you know, we really had to work on the numbers. And I was hoping and praying that, you know, we would manage to buy it, because that was something we really wanted to use in the house. And the house was fantastic. After that, we got a lot of other jobs. So I used to do a lot of freelancing jobs from then on for almost like quite a few years, you know, trying to figure out how to experiment with materials. And the first job was very memorable because obviously it's a first job, and it became more memorable because I used the NITCO tile actually at the end of the day.
You keep getting more jobs as long as you keep using NITCO tiles.
Need that.
Piyush.
Yeah, okay. So very few people know this about me, but when I was in college, right from the second year, I started approaching developers in Ranchi. And so they used to have like these really ugly looking buildings in Ranchi going all around. And so I approached them. I told them, okay, I can design a better building for you. And they said, okay, why not? And of course, they didn't tell them that I was in the second year of my college. So that is when I got actually started working professionally. And I remember my first project that time was it was a commercial tower for about 6 floors, and the elevation turned out really well, and they really liked it, and that's when I completely started. By the time I finished my college, I had done almost about 60-70 odd buildings for a couple of builders. And also I was doing a lot of work for CPWD, and that was mostly elevation designing because the government plans are kind of fixed. So they got me on board only for the elevations, and so I used to design a lot of them, big projects, big sizes. So yeah, Ranchi was famous for two things, for two people. One was Sanjay Puri, of course, and other was me. And so when it's true. Ranchi still is famous for Sanjay Puri. So there was this whole rumor that time going around. Arey, Bombay say there is this architect who has come, and we Ranchi architects charge 5 rupees a square foot. He is charging $110. So those were all rumors, and maybe they were true about Sanjay.
Piyush,
So,
can you send us the Google Map location of your statue in Ranchi?
I'm too embarrassed to do that. So anyway, so when I came to Bombay, so when I actually had my first client and first thing, so for the first year, I was kind of still shadowing around Priyanka and the projects that she was doing. So 2013, I was lucky enough to get a full building project in Juhu for this really good client of mine who gave me this kind of a break. And of course, maybe I looked too old or something. He thought I was really experienced, and I had this nice big folio of well-designed buildings and all.
It's the hair.
So yeah. So that was the first project, and incidentally, the project
Right.
finished.
Prashant? You mean the lack of hair, right?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes. The lack of hair, and incidentally, that project finished last year. So imagine 2013 we started that project, a 6-storied building, and some permission issues, something or the other happening. And 2019, which is last year, that project is finally finished. I'm still to shoot it, but yeah, that was my first like big project in Mumbai.
So here comes the
Presentation.
Because this one is my favorite, because at some point I have to be honest with you, I'm sharing a little bit of my dad's dream here, and I have to do this because I'm so proud of him as a son. For some odd reason it's not opening, and I think it's decided to die out on me. Yes. Let's hope it starts. And if it doesn't, then we just move on. So yeah, I think, there was this song, Ke Sera Sera, and I've just kind of tweaked it a little bit because that's exactly what it was. It was when I was just a little boy, I asked my father, what will I be? Will I be much? Will I be rich? And here's what he said to me, Ke Sera Sera, whatever will be, the future is not yours to see, Shobhan, Ke Sera Sera. So this was 1993, 1998 actually. I've graduated from Kamla Raheja, and those were the days when you had to go to the British Council Library, or you had to go to the US Council Library, fill out your SAT forms, do your TOEFL exam forms. You had to fill everything to go for your postgraduate, and I was so sure I wanted to go for my master's, right? Now, obviously, at this point in time, I had no clue what was brewing on the side. And I go to my dad, and I go out to him, and I asked him, I said, Dad, America bhanwa jau chhe. And my dad just looked at me with the most disgust at that point in time. And obviously, I had no clue, but for the past 15 years, up to 1998, Dad runs a charitable institute for the deaf and mute. And in 1998, the government gave us a land of 1/2 acre in Malad East to build a 20,000 square feet school. So my dad just looked at me and he said that, listen, social service karwani chhe ave. Acha, bhanwa nathi jawanu. And that's it. Just like that, I said, okay. So for the next 2 years, I got completely involved in doing the school. I was the foreman, the mukadam on the ground, poured the concrete, drew the stirrups up in the steel bars, lived my dream, so to speak, only most of them. MH obviously was left out. And what came out of it was the Koshish School for the Center of Deaf. It completes 40, 45 years now. We've got about 100 students. It's completely run on donations. Dad is still anchoring it at a healthy age of 81. And it's his pride. And I enjoyed doing it because it was an exploration of space, color, volumes. There was a great intersection play. Children could go up and down. I think we enjoyed it because, we made it extremely environmental friendly, very little dependency on electricity. Natural light kind of beamed across from all corners. And this is the point where I was extremely proud of myself, right? You can imagine 1992 to 2002, I have engaged and got this thing going. So I go up to my dad and I ask me, Dad, are you proud of me? Because, I stayed back and I put a smile on all the children's faces and I completed the project. And this is when he gave me the pearls of wisdom, very sarcastically told, but it stays with me till lifelong. And he says, chase your own dreams. Never listen to anyone but your own gut. I think at some point in time, when you look at an opportunity and you see it as an opportunity and you latch onto it, you have no idea of how many other opportunities you're letting go. For me, this was brilliant, you know. So for me, I got to learn so much from it. My master's dream didn't get completed, but I learned a lesson at the end of 2 years.
That
Fabulous.
was amazing, Shobhan. That was really amazing.
Kanai is going next.
I think we finished, right? Finished.
Yeah, I think
we finished that question.
Okay, so should we move on to the next question then?
Yes, please.
All of you have your own firms today. Tell us about how you set it up and a little bit about your initial struggles. Kanai, you can start.
We actually, three of us, like, we passed our school of architecture, and we were all on our own. We were freelancing and doing our own jobs, and we obviously did a small stint of internship also. So there were two things which happened at the same time. This was like 2 years after we passed out. I think it was around 96, 97. And there where we got an opportunity of designing a very big recreational, like an entertainment complex, which had to do a lot with Indian architecture. So we really went into it, and we were designing the entire space, and all Indian architecture through the different ages of the Mohenjo-daro, the Ashoka period, all the different stages up to the modern India. So while we were designing all this, there was at the same time, even where we were doing, since we're doing a lot of freelancing interiors, there was an opportunity for us where, actually not an opportunity, there was a chance, there was a thing where actually Nimish was trying to get some sort of a handmade designer tile, and he went around the entire market, rather the entire country, and he couldn't find it anywhere, and he found one in Baroda. Now, when he did that, then what happened that we actually, being in this whole, the entrepreneur kida in us, that, we actually went to Baroda, and then we realized that the handmade tile was again a big venture that we could get into. So we started doing that also. And at the same time, we had this design process of where we are doing this entire entertainment center in the north of the country. Now that didn't work out. And but what happened eventually with it was that we actually formed KNS Architects then in 97. And from there, we were actually doing multiple projects, like and it was quite difficult in the earlier years, because obviously people don't trust you. And at the same time, there was these things where we are trying to learn on different type of skills. One was the tile thing. The second thing was where we actually even ventured into a learning from an American, where it was how to design a jewelry factory. A jewelry factory is a very specialized field which required the skills of a designer and architect. And we got into that. We actually trained ourselves for doing that. And I think we spent a couple of years of actually learning how this was. And this really helped us actually, set up the practice in a better fashion. And actually we spent almost a good 5-7 years doing this. Actually, if you know about them, that we did multiple of them in Seeps, in around Andheri. We did a lot of them in Surat. But this entire process of experimenting, trying to learn different stuff, different materials, different type of projects, it really helped us to bring the practice together and lay the foundation for us to actually then start into the main practice. Because as we all three knew that we didn't have any sort of backing, because we all three were not from the field, and we had to really make that extra effort, because we had to learn how to run it. So the business part of it had to be there. Then we had to learn how to get the design part of it. Then the same thing, learning with the different type of materials. When it came to execution, and as mentioned earlier, when you had to get into costing and things like those, if you don't try out different methods, and if you don't try out doing different things, that was the initial struggle, which really helped us to we handle different stuff to make it we had to really tackle it, and eventually we landed up, setting it up, and yeah, the initial 6-7 years went to doing that. And unless it was way back again, where we actually got our first architectural project, that was way back in 2004, where we were like, we got a villa to do in Baroda, where the client came into the office and he actually saw that I'm talking to someone who's like just 30 and he has an office strength of 30 people. So he really got a confidence in giving us the project, and from that day really kickstarted the practice, and there was no looking back at it from then.
Who'll go next?
I can go next.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So as I already mentioned, my life was in phases of movie phases kind of a thing. So again, having a first, as in having a set up an office, formal office, was in 2010 when we were actually doing work from home situation. We had a small studio apartment. So the living room was our office, and the bedroom was our home, and the kitchenette was like a pantry cum kitchen thing. So that's how we started that Oshivra, and then we kind of slowly and gradually moved into another formal office setup. I think I have lost quite a few projects just because of what Kanai also mentioned, that you there are some clients who really look forward to a grand setup that they want to have visible. That so I've of course seen the blunt of it, where clients have refused to give us projects because they feel that they cannot trust us with the kind of small setup that we have. And I think I'm quite proud of it, a small setup doing decent boutique works. That is what I have always envisioned 09 to do. We really don't want to go out of scale. That has always been our clear idea. And there have been graciously some good clients who've trusted us with fantastically brilliant luxury projects as well. So I would say there has been, of course, struggles of all sorts, right from staff and right from, all sorts of struggles, right from managing your stationery to managing your own bills and everything. But we've kind of kept it in a very small bracket. And I think that is what is very easy to handle for us. And now that we are back in that work from home mode, I think we are quite comfortably settled. We are still, even if things open up, we are still in that mode that where we want to observe for another 8 to 10 days, and we want to then slowly take a step forward. So we are still good to go while the work is happening at the background. So I think that is how I would want to sum it up.
I'll go before Shobhan gives his presentation.
And check once again if Priyanka is now ready to come in.
Yeah, Priyanka is quite ready to come in.
But to get her in, so you can.
No, Priyanka, join us while I talk about my struggles. Getting her to join has been the biggest struggle of my life.
The second statue would have been your biggest struggle.
Welcome.
Hi.
Can we already see the number of viewers increasing?
Hi guys, so nice to hear all of you.
Why are you being so formal, Priyanka?
Generally, it's nice. It's a very formal,
It's not a formal panel.
It's not formal.
Super formal webinar, super formal.
Okay, so for me, the struggle of establishing a firm was already taken care of by my wife, because she established the company in 2009 and I joined in later in 2011-12. So for me, the biggest struggle was the age, because by the time I got my first big project like the Juhu project that I was talking about, 2013, I was 27, 28 years. And sitting in the table, like whenever we used to have a client meeting and discussion, the developer used to sit there with 3 other consultants, all old people, and the structural guy and the licensing guy. And they used to throw in all those jargons, which you typically have in Bombay buildings. And for me, it was like learning on the job. And like how Prashant said, and Kanai also said that also not having a big setup is also seen as a problem with by a lot of developers and a lot of clients. So also to not let them feel that, okay, I don't have the setup or I don't understand this particular jargon. So initial maybe few meetings were a little tough, wherein I thought, okay, maybe I'm not really equipped for this. But then I eventually realized that I was there for the design, and if my design was good, if my design was true, then there's no problem. And then people will actually listen to you. And of course, having fewer here helped, and they used to actually think I'm quite senior, which kind of helped me. But yeah, so that was the initial struggle, and yeah, so that's about it.
Will you tell us a little bit about your struggle as well, Priyanka? Or you didn't have?
Exactly. Priyanka should answer this question.
So honestly, yeah, for me, setting up the firm was quite a bit of struggle because first I was alone in a city. I mean, I'm originally from Delhi and I've been living there all my life. I just shifted to Bombay, when I started working with Hafiz. And to have a firm on your own in a city where you don't know anybody, and being a woman, it was, I can't even sometimes when I go and look back at those days, it's not something that I would want to go back to, honestly. I mean, it's made me who I am today. First I realized that was a time when very few people trusted women. There were very limited number of women in the industry who was really out there. So starting new for me, that was one of the first biggest struggle. I just feel that men, whether it's a builder or it's that's how society works. It's the men of of a family who kind of take decisions, and for them to be comfortable with the women, with a woman designer, the woman of their house, the wife starts looking up to them like, architect, bahut achhi lag rahi hai tumko, why are you being so comfortable with her? So they kind of used to set back. So they preferred, this was my experience. I'm not sure, I'm not saying everybody's, but this was my personal experience. It helped also because sometimes the women were more comfortable having a female architect around. The second was building a rapport with the contractors. I would say I was young when I started out. I was 29 when I started the firm. And the contractors used to think that ye bachchi aa gayi hai side par aur ye hamare par chilla rahi hai. So that was one of the biggest struggles, because then again you have to learn the details and everything very fast. What helped, of course, was that I had worked with Hafiz for 5 years before I started the firm. So I knew a lot of details. I'd done a lot of interior works before. So that kind of helped me. And but the struggle really was there, getting a grip on site. Even till today, there are times that I go on site and people will have an object, the contractors, especially I would say in smaller cities, there is a certain section of contractors who don't want to listen to a woman shouting on their heads. They'll be okay as a man who's shouting, how can a woman shout? So, and I am very, very loud and very, very vocal. So, that becomes like an issue. But today, I don't care. That time I had to be more humble and more, careful about what I was saying. So that kind of took a little while. I think these were the more or less two struggles which I really faced. And I remember I still look very young, but those days I was looking even younger. So I had to put on a lot of makeup, to go on sites, because people were like, ye kya hai? Who's this kid who's come on site? Will she able to handle the sites or something? I had to really put on a lot of makeup, make myself look old. So that they were like, okay, this is like how he said, a lady has, that's why he wanted to join, the firm. Kisi mein lady ke saath join kara. So that was his thing.
Superb. Anu is there. Anu, welcome. Hi.
Hi, Anu.
Shobhan wanted to speak to you.
Shobhan?
Yeah, he's helping me.
No, he was worried what you're going to feed him tonight. So I said, don't worry, Swiggy hai na abhi. Delivery chalu kar diya unhone.
I used to get food from out outside.
अरे डर के आगे जीत है यार.
Other के seat है.
चालू हो जाए यार बेटा.
Seriously, we are right now just trying to convince our building to allow buys to come in.
Oh yeah, that's a great game.
Very important.
That's more important deal ले लेती.
Most important.
Most
Most
important.
important.
Wonderful. Okay.
Shobhan, I think we're ready for your presentation.
No. So actually, you know what? In this particular one, there's no presentation, but you know, there's a lovely story. People think of us as we started off as an architecture and interior practice. Very people know that we actually ran a studio on the loft of a store. We had a shop by the name of Design and Domain opposite SNDT College, all of 400 square feet. You know, this is the time where Anand had kind of disappeared for the 2 years that I was doing the courses school for my dad. You know, the Kerala partner of mine, the Keralite partner of mine, he had a calling from his motherland. So he basically went to the UAE and he matha takeout out there and he came back. So in the 3 years that I got my courses school going and he came back and he was ready to start his own family. At that point in time, we had both done a little bit of savings and we both coming from, you know, professional backgrounds in medicine, we had no inroads. तो क्या करे, थोड़ा बनियागिरी यहाँ पे था, वो मल्लू ने थोड़ा पैसा कमाया था वहां से, तो बनिया ने सोचा कि थोड़ा उसका पैसा लेके एक बिजनेस चालू करते हैं. So that business that we started was Design and Domain. It was a dukan. We used to source all artifacts and small stuff from Bali, Thailand, Philippines, a lot of local stuff all over India from, you know, Anmala Jain or Rajendra, you know, some artists. Now we started that. So it was like a carrot. Ground floor पे दुकान थी, अच्छी लड़कियां आई तो आनंद भाग के जाता था. कोई माड़ू आया जिसको समझाने का टफ प्रॉब्लम था तो ये ज्ञानेश्वर नीचे जाता था और समझाता था और उसको how to convert him into some sort of a business वो देखते थे. So it served its purpose for 3 years. It was like a beautiful carrot. This is the time I have to tell you that contemporary arts and crafts and Anita Lal in a small domain of 4,500 square feet opposite Kambala Hill Hospital existed, right? So we as boys like Davids were fighting these okay Goliaths. Now 3 years hence, after that, all of a sudden Good Earth shut down in Kambala Hill Hospital and it opened in Raghuvanshi Mill at like a 10,000 square feet. Anand and I are looking at each other and he's saying, "Abhi dhanda band karte." Yeah, abhi now let's practice on architecture and interior because this carrot is over. So basically that's our initial struggle, and you know, those were the days when Council of Architecture did not allow you to kind of promote yourself. So D&D stays from those days where it was Design and Domain. We just added a prefix of atelier and we started our practice. So after 3 years of doing that, I think then we got dived whole and soul into architectural and design studio practice. And I think about 2009 is when we even started KD&D Studio LLP, which is a JV for hospitality projects. So it's been a struggle, but I think it's been a beautiful struggle. You know, we've kind of enjoyed parts of business, parts of, you know, side hustle. It was great fun. I don't think unlike, I wouldn't do anything differently. I think I would stick to doing this whole thing all over again. I would probably make Anand put more money or earn a little bit more in Dubai, but other than that, everything I would keep the same.
We've got a few questions that we have from the audience. We don't have too much time available. I think we'll take two, three questions. Anika, how many questions?
We'll take one question from the audience and then we'll allow one person into the room to ask a question.
Okay, great.
So, Shobhan, this question is directed to you. It's from Rajiv Pushlani. Shobhan, I completely agree with you. How do you think the architecture curriculum can evolve to include soft skills? Do you have any suggestions that can add some or all of the soft skills that you mentioned?
I think it's best to get some guides and coaches, you know, life coaches and guides into the encounter sessions. We had a lot of encounter sessions on Wednesdays, you know, where we had Astad Devu, we've had Bibi Doshi, and we've had a lot of people from the fraternity. But the problem is that as architects, we never kind of look outside and think that we need a life coaches. We need coaches who can train us for public speaking, who kind of train us towards the soft skills. And I would love to have some of these life coaches come as a semester to kind of train a batch and then go away. And if then, you kind of take to it, you can then take it up on your own free time, but at least to kind of introduce it into a curriculum. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Very interesting.
Thank you, Shobhan. Rahul, can we allow Iram into the room, please?
We must allow. Hiram has to come into the room.
Priyanka, she's already messaged me. Her
God.
first question is for you.
Hiram, you need to show yourself also. You can't just.
All the best. Priyanka, all the best.
Hiram, you're in the room. You have to unmute and you will be able to speak.
I think we can finally say that we have overwhelmed the queen. Not possible. Not possible.
Let's not be too confident before we say that.
No, I'm kind of going off now. I've got a bad connection. Bye-bye.
Hiram is just preparing a speech,
Let's go. Okay, I don't know. Maybe we can answer one other question in the meantime. So we have one more question from Surbhi Goyal. How long does it really take to arrive? At what point did you start hiring people and setting up a firm? I'm a freelancer and sometimes it just feels like all too much to handle.
So Survi, after post-COVID, I'm willing to be hired. So you have never arrived.
All of us, please. Please, we are also in the line.
No, Priyanka, you have no right. Piyush has got a second statue being built in Ranchi and you have to continue to work hard. See, in our case, we have forgotten. We don't even have a foundation. But आपके वहाँ तो यार दूसरा statue चल रहा है. तो यार you continue working.
Piyush had all the. Piyush definitely had all the.
Anika, you
Can't hear you, Anika.
No, I just got Iram on speaker because she's lost connection to the webinar. Iram, you can ask your question.
Okay, I just want to know.
What?
Hi, Shobh.
Shobhan is
Hey.
Shobh, I want to know why you were so callous and you have not mentioned Ekta and her contribution to your thesis. I'm deeply disappointed by your very cavalier behavior.
So you know what?
Shobhan, I'm not done. One second, Shobhan, I also want to know about your laundry skills, especially with smaller garments.
Okay, so I'm going to take the first one and then the second one. So I have a
Who is overwhelmed now?
I have a very, very bad habit of being over prepared, right? So if there's a deadline which is for Monday, I think I can pretty much say that I have safely finished it on Saturday and get a day to spare. And I found
used to give company there.
Yeah, I found an OCD friend in Ekta Parekh. I really found an OCD friend in her. She's as meticulous as me. And she came over and helped me in my thesis. So we kind of gelled, I think, from day one. And I think we're great friends even today for only that very reason. I think we understand each other's OCD. So that's having said that. But with regards to the second question, which is the fun question, Ekta decided to, obviously, Ekta was on a master's program and there was a summer training in Paris, right? And she and her 4 other girlfriends were sharing a room. And they decided that at that point in time, they wanted to do a little bit of a globetrotting around Europe. And I decided to join them. And she kind of went, I think, it was the Porte de Nuit in the morning to kind of do some sketches out there. And she said that this is the laundry. Go to the laundromat, just make sure that you get everything laundered and come back. Right now, she's giving me 4 to 5 hours, which is more than sufficient time anybody can give anybody. But that's Shobhan. No, it's not enough. They're returning after end of 4 to 5 hours, and she's seen me fold teeny-meeny clothes and undergarments of women. Because that's the OCD in me, right? And I'm kind of making piles. So it never ends. The OCD in me never ends.
I have another question. I want to know if this has helped him in his marriage to Kajal. I mean, I'm sure Ekta.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was trained from the day of birth, from mum to Kaj to friends. I have had strong women influence in my life, and I do not wish to change that movie going forward. Look at you. You're my dear friend for a reason. I enjoy being dictated over.
Nari, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a very neat mind, Abla Nari.
So,
Absolutely.
that no one is going to believe. That no one
Look
is
at
going
me.
to
I'm the only one on this panel who's maintaining a poker straight face. Everyone else is cracking up. So I think you have a bone to pick with them.
Let's get Zaki on this, please. He will throw some light on the Abla Nari part.
I don't know where Zaki is. Yesterday he was so excited to be on this, like to come and ask you guys questions, but I don't know where he is. He hasn't said a word.
I want to know why it has taken so much effort for Prashant to acknowledge the role that Anu has played and continues to play in his life.
You know why? Because otherwise I would have risked my life. She was working in the other room and she was on a client call.
This is waste of my time right now. I have to cook at 7 o'clock. I have to finish my work.
As we speak, I'm risking my life. Just for you, Iram. Just for you.
Just for me, right? Yeah. So basically making sure that she makes you those 3 amazing meals a day and does the rest.
Absolutely. Today afternoon also
Priyanka,
last question.
Okay. Statue in Ranchi, Piyush's statue in Ranchi. There's a photograph.
Sorry?
Priyanka, everyone wants to see the photograph of Piyush's statue in Ranchi. That's what he
Okay. You mean the upside down statue, Ira?
Yeah, the one with the gold medal. No, and the gold medal hanging off his neck. That one, Priyanka. The one with the gold medal.
Let's do it for the crowd now.
I've sold the gold medal during this COVID crisis because we had no money.
Yeah, अब जब gold का भाव बढ़ गया तब.
Thank you. Thanks, Iram, for joining us. Thank you.
Very happy to these guys.
Bye, Ram. Love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I think we'll have to wrap up now. We're having so much fun, and I think we can carry on as soon as the lockdown is over at my house. I can invite all you guys.
Yes, we'll be more than happy to come over, Vivek.
Yeah, my quantum of booze is getting exhausted.
Thank you so much. It was a real fun talk. Really fun. Really enjoyed all your stories.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much for being on.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Stay safe, everyone.